You found the WMIX Saturday Sports Show on AM 940 and WMIXSports.com. Cared for by Crossroads Community Hospital. The Saturday Sports Show has been recognized by the Illinois Broadcasters Association as one of the top radio programs in the state. That means the very best mix of local sports content is right here. From the powerhouse on Broadway, the Saturday Sports Show starts now.
Powerhouse indeed. Glad to have you with us for the Saturday Sports Show this morning. WMIX and WMIXSports.com. Full house for you. Chris Hugo with Danny Zerwinski, Mike Richardson. All at the Powerhouse on Broadway on a beautiful Saturday morning. Sunny skies here in the King City. Busy lineup for you today as always, but of course we are brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
Hey, it's what healthcare should be.
There we go. Hopefully I hit record. Looks like it did. We are good to go. Busy lineup today. Of course, we'll talk Mount Vernon Rams baseball with Tim Holloway. Lady Rams softball, of course, to follow with Lance Boldt. We'll catch up with Althoff Crusaders baseball with Brett Isaacs. We'll continue in the South 7 Conference as we talk high school baseball with Orphans head coach Matt Kottmeyer of Centralia. Kerry Martin, Hall of Famer. Legendary Marion Wildcat football coach will stop by, and then we'll talk about the Harrisburg Seton Academy situation with Jeffrey Drake, voice of the Harrisburg Bulldogs on WEBQ. And then Mike McManus, of course, of WRXX and WILY, more Withers broadcasting stations, as well as the Morning Sentinel. We'll talk about the issues that have arisen in the South 7 Conference with the announcement that Cahokia plans to cut sports in 2013 and 2014 due to the perceived and possible lack of or cut in state funding that could come in the next school year. So that's going to be an interesting topic. And you think about schools in financial peril and the lack of money that could be coming in as they cut, I believe, what, to 80% maybe? Is that the
$900 million's been cut. $900 million's been cut in school aid over the last, I don't know how many years I was told. And I hate to tell people, that money is not coming back anytime soon. So they've dropped from like 100% to 95 to 90, 87, now to 80. It's not coming back. And decisions have to be made now based on the school year. You wait for your income. And I think there's a likelihood. Do I think all the sports and extracurricular activities are going to be cut at Cahokia? Probably not. Do I think that a lot of them are going to get slashed? You better believe it. Which ones those may be, we have to wait till July to find out, which puts the conference in a real bind, not only for your revenue sports, but your non-revenue sports.
Well, and then you think about it, and you think about the fact that, football, basketball, track are their main cogs there, and just how much success they've had over time. And you'd really hate to see that lost. And you'd hate to see the other sports that kids participate in as well that may not be able to excel in those other three sports. But you would think if they were able to salvage any sports in Cahokia, it'd probably be those three.
You have to think, too, that once this announcement was made Monday night, once it hit the airwaves on Tuesday, the media factions, Monday evening into Tuesday, that you better believe legal, illegal, unwritten, or written rule broke, that there were schools in that area already on the horn, talking, communicating, and otherwise, telling those kids, hey, why wait till July? You better get going, because some of you, if you want to earn a college scholarship, you need to come to fill in the blank of the school in the area and get in there and get going, because those kids can't wait till July to find out they're going to have a team, coach, or otherwise.
Well, and you look at that, and you look at the situation, and you think, East Side, logical case for some of those kids to attend, or maybe if you're Dupo, which is also a neighboring district, maybe you could sneak in and try to swipe some of those athletes. And you say that, I'm not sure what the legalities in terms of the IHSA and the NFHS are, but
Althoff.
Did you really just?
Yeah,
go
I
there?
did that. I'm sorry.
Really?
I
didn't know Cahokia was in Missouri.
It'll all be solved one of these days. Coming up in the future, I guess, when they build the big new high school for East St. Louis and Cahokia both to use. So I guess we got extra money to do that. I think maybe if they started a lottery, like
that is, we have discussed that many more times on the road to and from.
Well, like a lottery
about
system.
Mr. Hugo and I talking about what schools need to be. We have redivided so many counties south of 64 schools, junior highs and otherwise. It's not even funny how many plans we have in place.
I think I've taken care of 50 of the 102 counties.
Well, definitely high school-wise we have.
A lottery's a good idea. And then, never mind. I was going to say a
Right,
conference for grade
exactly.
schools would be phenomenal as well. But anyhow.
What? There's not?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, grade school conference would have been ideal. Moving on.
Oh,
Anyhow.
okay.
No,
Yes.
and then is what it is.
It was what it was.
That can't be what it's not. Of course, Saturday Sports, we'll have Tim Holloway coming up. We'll talk Rams baseball, but a special shout-out, of course, to Vernon Rams Track. They win the Orphan Invitational yesterday. They hit the century mark with 100 and just totally 9 first places, I believe, 5 second places, and another great week for Rams Track. And, of course, they'll be busy next week with a freshman meet, I believe, on Monday, and then they'll run again on Friday and Saturday as well, and looking to defend some titles along the way. I believe Friday might be at Mascoutah. I'd have to double-check the Rams Track schedule. But Clint Turner and Vernon Rams Track and Field, of course, another great showing yesterday at the Orphan Invitational. We need to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk Rams baseball with Tim Holloway. Of course, the Rams have a doubleheader today. St. Anthony Bulldogs, the defending 1A state champions, come to town. 10:45 is your pregame for game number 1. We'll have both of them for you today on WMIX and WMIXsports.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, it's Tim Holloway, Rams baseball, here on the Saturday Sports Show, powered by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
Yeah, it's what healthcare should be.
When an emergency happens, time is everything, and you don't want to spend that time in a waiting room. So choose Crossroads Community Hospital. With our 30 minutes or less ER service pledge, the entire team is committed to working diligently to have you initially seen by a physician, physician assistant, or nurse practitioner within 30 minutes of your arrival. When minutes matter, choose the ER that doesn't waste time. Choose Crossroads Community Hospital. Visit crossroadscommunityhospital.com/faster to learn more. If you are experiencing a medical emergency, call 911.
The 2013 Dodge Avenger has no interest in blending in, and neither should you. Hi, Roy Schmidt Dodge dealer at King City Chrysler in Mount Vernon. Stand out in the all-new Avenger. From its crosshair grille to ring-of-fire tail lamps, the Dodge Avenger takes an aggressive stance that's impossible to ignore. It's also impossible to ignore $3,000 in customer cash or 0% financing for 72 months. But it is what's inside that really counts. And with premium materials and soft-touch surfaces, the interior of the 2013 Avenger gets you there more comfortably than ever. Plus, those incentives leave your wallet a little more comfortable as well. See our selection online at kingcitychrysler.com or visit with one of our associates at King City Chrysler Center, 1603 Broadway in Mount Vernon, Illinois, and find us on Facebook.
Do you farm or operate an agriculture-based business? Then Community First Bank is for you. Hi, I'm Steve Down, Agribusiness Lending Officer at Community First Bank. With our roots firmly planted in Jefferson County, we offer the stability, strength, and personal attention that you deserve. Community First Bank wants to be your financial partner with customized products for both your personal and farm banking needs. Stop by any of our 5 convenient Jefferson County locations to see how we can help your business grow.
Community First Bank with locations in Mount Vernon, Woodlawn, Dix, and Ina. Member FDIC, Equal Housing.
And we welcome you back to the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX, WMIXsports.com. Glad to have you with us, courtesy of Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
Yeah, it's what healthcare should be.
You bet it is. And, of course, we're proud to welcome to the program head coach of Mount Vernon Rams baseball, Tim Holloway. Coach, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
You know what, unfortunately, a rain out on Thursday, so don't get the conference game against Cahokia in, but you have a tough Mascoutah team that comes into Brennan Klein Field on Tuesday. They had just beaten Triad, come from behind the day prior to that. You guys get a big win against the Mascoutah Indians, a team that you lost to on the road last year, so a pretty big win against a good team out of a great conference.
Oh, pretty nice win, yeah. They're a good quality team. They'd also be Bevel West, had some good athletes, but the key to that game was that, I believe, the third inning, we had those 2 good bunts and had some good situational hitting there. Colin Young fought and drew a walk, and the senior Kottmeyer knew they had to come to him. He set on a fastball and rocked it. So we got on a roll that inning and ended up having a good game.
One game this week. That's the bad thing with Mascoutah, but the good thing maybe is to give your pitching staff maybe some rest that was probably much needed heading into a doubleheader today in Mount Vernon.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt, but we were looking forward to playing those games. So we had our pitching set up. Guys were, we're fortunate to have a deep staff this year, so we had some guys ready to go and had it planned out, but they'll just get backed up a little ways, and got some guys we're going to throw out there today. We want to get Tyler Ellis has had 3 good bullpens in a row the past week and a half, feeling great. So we want to get him an inning or 2, and looking forward to getting back on the field today.
Getting back on the field Wednesday night, you were supposed to play Harrisburg at Rent 1. How close did you guys get to Marion before finding out the game wasn't going to be played?
Well, we never got on the bus. We were getting ready to load up. The bus was there, and I got a call from Coach Thompson, and he felt that it was best if we just shut it down. And, with their situation in the past, I know there's supposed to be some tornado warnings, and people are pretty sensitive. I understand that. So, there's nothing wrong there and on the side of caution. And, it's just one of those things. It's disappointing for our guys because it had been a good game for us, but there's nothing we can control there.
When you're speaking of control, you mentioned a doubleheader today, Tyler Ellis and a couple innings. Going into a situation like this, you've had a few days off. You don't play again until Tuesday. Do you go by committee when you figure this out, or how do you go about trying? You want to have a lot of guys pitch today, but you don't kind of want to make it a circus where every couple innings somebody's running out there and lose kind of the intensity of what's actually going on in the business of trying to win 2 ball games.
Right. We've got, our plan is we've got 2 guys. We want to throw Float out there the first game, and Thomas game 2 as a starter. As of now, that's our plan. We want to get, 4 or 5 out of those guys if we can. We also want to get a couple guys from relief work. Tyler Morgan's fresh. He's ready to go. Weber needs an inning. Tyler Ellis needs an inning. If needed, Fulkerson can throw one who will come back. We've got some conference games next week, but we also want to have Fulkerson, Ellis, Thomas, and Weber ready to go for those conference games next week.
Let's get to the important question of why you get paid the big bucks, you and your staff. This is the important question. How do you, on a day like today, with all the pomp and circumstance of this evening, with prom and everything else, try to keep a bunch of teenage guys on focus, on task for about 4 or 5 hours today playing baseball here in Mount Vernon?
Well, I think that was taken care of long ago. A lot of it depends on what type of kids you have. We have good character guys. We have a senior group. I think you get in trouble in these days when you have maybe a young team, maybe some guys, maybe some character issues. They got their mind on other things. But when you put a lot into it, it's hard to not give a lot. And it's hard to give up when you put a lot into it. So they have a lot invested. They've grown up playing together. And really, we're halfway through. They've got a month left of the regular season, so I'm sure they want to make the most of it. Until they prove me wrong, I'm not worried about those things. They've come to play every day.
Effingham St. Anthony, defending Class 1A state champs, roll in today. Obviously, probably not the caliber of team they had last year, but still a formidable opponent. What do you know about the Bulldogs today, coming into today?
Well, I know they've got the number 1 that's going to Northern Illinois that's supposed to be a good velocity kid. He shut out Mattoon. They beat some good teams. I know they're still a good quality team. We picked them up last year for that reason. We knew we had heard they were going to be good, and they still are. So, there's no gimmies. We're going to have to play well, and we're looking for. I'm sure we're going to see their number 1. Maybe I don't know if it'll be game 1 or game 2, but I've got a good idea that we'll see him.
Of course, you mentioned that that is the reason why you picked them up. Is that how this came about? Did Mount Vernon seek out St. Anthony, or is this just something where you kind of reached out and they were very receptive?
Well, I think what happened last year, we were looking for a doubleheader. I was talking to some coaches up there. They said, hey, St. Anthony's going to be real good this year. They've got 2 good ones on the mound, and whatever happened, I was in contact with their coach, and we decided to play. So, I don't know if we'll play after this year, but, right now that's how it worked out.
Of course, always a great Rams baseball schedule. It seems like there's always the toughest teams from the best conferences in order to get prepared for the postseason, and hard to believe that we're getting to a point where we're about in between a third and a halfway through this baseball season. But another busy week next week with conference play coming up. Obviously, the focus is on today, but some more good tests in this coming week against Centralia, Althoff, and Breeze Central.
Yeah, it's going to be a good week. I hope that weather stays good, and we were in a pretty good flow. It'll be nice to get on the field again today, and hopefully we can keep this thing going. We need to keep improving. We haven't had a bad start, but I feel like there's room for improvement, and we're looking forward to all of them.
Well, it should be a great week indeed. And, of course, Cahokia game, do we know possibly a make-up date for that? Will that fall on the next conference rain date, which is April 23rd, or do we know?
I haven't heard for sure, but I assume, which, you don't like to lose those conference games because you get backlogged. And we've got a heavy week that week. Also with Heron, who's in our regional that week, who's got a good team this year, but that's just the way it goes. It was unfortunate. If it wouldn't have rained that day, it's supposed to stop that more. We might have been able to figure out a way to get that in, but we were just soaked, and we're just going to have to deal with it.
Our final question for you before you head out and get things rolling and ready for the doubleheader today is our WMIX Sports social media question of the week. And this week's question is, growing up, who was your sports hero?
Oh, without question, it had to be Michael Jordan. There was a lot of good guys, but I liked Bird, Magic, and there was some good baseball guys, with the Cardinals, Ozzie Smith, and there's plenty of them, but I'd say number one would have to be Jordan. Just the intensity and how many championships that guy won. Was it 6 maybe? Just unbelievable guy to watch.
Unbelievable indeed, and we're looking forward to unbelievable Rams baseball today against the defending 1A state champs. Coach, good luck, and we'll see you before you know it.
All right, guys, thank you.
That's Tim Holloway, Mount Vernon Rams baseball, and of course, busy day for them. They have to get the field ready for an 11 o'clock doubleheader with St. Anthony. Defending 1A state champions, of course. Should be a good day of high school baseball.
It's nice to get out and play. It's going to be chilly to start with, but temperature's warming up nicely. I think today's supposed to be obviously a little warmer than yesterday. It's already 41 right now here in the King City. So it's going to be a little chilly to start. It'll warm up as the day goes on, a little warmer tomorrow. But an important couple of games. You'd like to see Mount Vernon try to get a couple here. And then obviously next week, tough schedule. Centralia, Breeze Central, at Althoff. It's a tough run next week for the Rams as they start heading down. As he said, we're under a month to go in the high school baseball season and softball as well.
Well, and that it is. And, of course, it's hard to believe that getting ready to roll through the South 7 slate for a second time. It started out with Althoff. You'll go back to Althoff next week. Of course, you don't have Cahokia in yet now because of the rain, but it's just crazy to think about. Of course, plenty more to talk about here on the Saturday Sports Show. We just revealed our WMIX Sports social media question of the week. Find it on Facebook, facebook.com/WMIX Sports. It's on the Twitterverse as well, at WMIX Sports. Your favorite, or how about your sports hero growing up? Who is your favorite sports hero growing up? And, of course, that's a good question, and one that we will talk about throughout the program. Actually, we have some time, I think, to talk about it now. I assume that you guys know your answer. Mine's fairly straightforward. I actually have 3 of them. Nolan Ryan, Brendan Shanahan, and Dallas Clark. Of course, Dallas Clark kind of came about 2002, so I don't know that it was actually a childhood. But man crush, at least. At least those are mine.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, it's a tough one, and you look back at certain things and reasons why that you would have a particular hero. I guess probably number one, as far as the eye test that you've seen pretty much his whole career, was Muhammad Ali, and then naturally, because of the history, and I just caught him at the tail end of his career, but Mickey Mantle for sure, no doubt about it.
I will say, growing up, it would have to be Ryan Sandberg was one. And the other one from the 70s that could not go away was Roger Staubach. That was the other one. There was no other that could do any wrong besides him.
I'll give you some details on mine. It was tail end for me, but I loved Nolan Ryan. The way that he went out there and performed night in and night out, and granted, maybe his ERA was a little higher and his win-loss record wasn't spectacular as far as the 500 mark, but to win 324 games, throw 7 no-hitters, 22 one-hitters, 5,714 career strikeouts, just impressive. Brendan Shanahan, the season he had, I think it was 93-94, where he had 50 goals, 100 points, and 200 penalty minutes. Second guy only since Kevin Stevens to have done the same thing. That was pretty impressive. And then the 2002 Mackey Award winner, Dallas Clark. And, it's hard to argue that. At one time, in my opinion, probably the best hands tight end in the NFL at one time. So there you go. Those are our answers. What are yours? Find us on Facebook at WMIX Sports. You'll find the question posted there. It's also on Twitter at WMIX Sports. Tweet us up, and maybe we'll share your answers today. And it should be a fun day as we see people's favorite sports heroes of their childhood, otherwise known as favorite childhood sports heroes, on Saturday Sports Show. We need to take a break. Brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
Yeah, it's what healthcare should be.
Lance Boldt, Lady Rams softball's next.
That Second Chance Auto doesn't depend on fancy sales gimmicks. Instead, you'll only find honest deals with no credit checks and instant approval. Take your income tax rebate and use it on the great quality used vehicle you really want. Cars, trucks, minivans, along with small, mid-size, and full-size SUVs. Most priced under $10,000 with 3-month or 3,000-mile warranty. Family owned for over 32 years, serving the families in our region. Located on Route 142 East in Mount Vernon. Call 244-4582.
The Orthopedic Center of Southern Illinois welcomes Dr. Beth Conradi to their medical staff. Dr. Conradi specializes in comprehensive pain management using a multidisciplinary team approach by working with other specialists for optimal diagnosis and treatment of pain. Dr. Conradi will treat most conditions of the spine, including management of cancer pain. Dr. Beth Conradi, helping to make life better day after day at the Orthopedic Center of Southern Illinois in Mount Vernon. Call 618-242-3778.
I'm Kevin Snyder with a look at your next rad weather. For today, it will be partly sunny and milder with a high around 60, then a mainly clear and chilly night tonight, low 43. Tomorrow it will be breezy and warmer, partly sunny with a high 75, then variably cloudy and warm for Monday. A shower or thunderstorm will be around in the afternoon, high 73. Next rad weather from WMIX, Mount Vernon, Illinois.
And we're welcoming you back to the Saturday Sports Show on WMIX and WMIXSports.com. Glad to have you with us, courtesy of Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
Yeah, it's what healthcare should be.
We welcome to the program. He is the head coach of Lady Rams softball, Lance Boldt. Coach, good morning.
Morning, guys. How are you guys doing?
You know, doing pretty good. Got to see you guys in action yesterday, and I know that before the game you knew that you were going to be out without one of your without one of your leaders. And you go into yesterday with a doubleheader against a tough modern-day team, and I think you learned something along the way last night.
Well, yeah. Yesterday was kind of a rough one. Hannah Wright was sick, so, we didn't have her available to throw, and we missed her bat. She's a big producer in the middle of our lineup, drives in a lot of runs, and we need her bat in there. We need her arm as well, as far as pitching goes. So that was big. And then we had, our cleanup hitter wasn't there, Lauren Wilson. She had a school function somewhere else, so we had a lot of those school functions here lately, it seems like, but didn't have her yesterday either. And then we just had some girls who are banged up, and Summer Hobson's one of those girls, and I really appreciated her going out there and playing short yesterday, that second game, because her ankle's definitely banged up. But she did that, and I think she might have had our only hit that second game. But now I guess Summer Karch, we don't know where we stand with Summer right now. She hurt her leg again, her quad, during the first game pitching yesterday. So hopefully we'll get some good news on her next week. But banged up and got some people sick, people gone, and it was just kind of a rough one yesterday. Modern Day is a good team, and that, it all kind of unfolded in a way that we didn't want it to, but we're still able to get out and play. That's the main thing.
When you look at this and you look at your schedule, you hadn't played since Carbondale. You lose one game, you rain out of another game, you lose two more today. Is it a matter?
We played Althoff on Tuesday.
Right. Is it a matter of kind of like every time you go out, you feel like you're starting over once again here and there with the season?
Well, like I said, on Tuesday we got out there, had our first home game, played Althoff, played really well, had a great defensive effort from everybody. Got a bunch of hits up and down the order, won 9-2, and got some great pitching from Summer Karch and Hannah Wright, and so that was a good start to the week. But then you're right, Wednesday we weren't able to really practice much because of the thunder and lightning outside, and Thursday we got outside on the outfield, but wasn't able to do anything on the infield, and got some cuts in. But then yesterday we come back out there and don't have part of our team, so. That part of it was frustrating. But, like I said, big conference win earlier this week. That was our first conference win against a pretty decent Althoff squad. So that was positive.
When you talk about that big win and you had that momentum from Althoff Tuesday to Friday, did it kind of give the girls a different spring in their step as far as understanding, hey, we can go out here and do this and get things done?
Yeah, I think so. I think, these girls, they thrive off that positive atmosphere and positive momentum, and you can see that day in and day out. But yesterday, very first play of the game, we get a pop up, and weren't able to make the play, and it seemed like it kind of went in the other direction. So we're a team of momentum, and we just got to try to keep things going in a positive direction as often as possible. So But you're right. Tuesday, it was definitely a positive. It was a lot of fun, and it was good to see those girls enjoy playing. It was a beautiful day on Tuesday. Yesterday, it was it was cold. It was windy. Probably wasn't the best weather for softball, but you still got to play in those conditions. And I'll tell you right now, with the wind blowing around the way it does at our field, it seems like we've got to get ourselves in position to make plays in the outfield, catch pop-ups on the infield. Too many of those balls have been dropping, and that's really hurting our pitchers. We don't strike a lot of girls out, so we've got to make those plays defensively if we're going to stay in ball games. And yesterday we didn't. On Tuesday we did. So that was kind of the difference.
Now the next week, this week's over. Next week it gets really tough. You got Centralia at home. You go to Althoff on Thursday, and then the O'Fallon tournament for a couple of days, Friday, Saturday, a day off, and then Salem at home. This is really going to be a stretch where you're going to learn a lot about your team in those games, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Centralia is really good, and they're coming to our place. We know that they're a tough team. We'll go to Althoff, and so a couple conference games, and then we got the O'Fallon tournament, as you said, and right now we don't know where we stand with Summer Karsh, and so that, we could play 2 or 3 games over there at O'Fallon, and that could really be a tough situation for us without Summer if she's not able to pitch. Right now we got Hannah throwing well. Probably need to use Kelby a little bit more, and we got Bailey Huff, Casey Little, but we also got a JV tournament that day over at Fairfield, so we're going to lose a couple of our pitchers over there. So, really hoping to get some good news on Summer this week.
Well, and definitely going into that busy stretch of the season as we get later into April and into May into the postseason. And it seems just like a tough stretch thus far, but it really seems like things are starting to, from what I've seen this season, start to improve fundamentally. And you have to like maybe where you're headed as you go deeper in the season as you guys get some more experience.
Yeah, I think so. And, I can definitely see some improvement with some things at the plate and defensively. We might have taken a step backwards a little bit yesterday. But again, part of that was we had a lot of freshmen and sophomores out there playing yesterday. They were playing in their first varsity game. And so, that was part of it, too. And they did a great job getting in there and going up against a really solid team, a solid pitcher. And I don't have anything but praise to say about our youngsters, the freshmen and sophomores who came in yesterday. But yeah, we are improving. We saw that Tuesday defensively, and we just need to keep that going. We've made way too many errors this year. Going into yesterday, we've committed 26 errors to the opposition's 12, and that's just not acceptable. And so we got to keep getting better at that. That's the big thing. If our pitchers aren't going to strike people out, we got to make plays behind them.
Well, what is acceptable is we'll ask you our final question, which is our WMIX Sports social media question of the week. And this week's question is, growing up, when you were a kid, youngster, who was your sports hero?
That's pretty easy for me because I grew up playing shortstop, and so being an avid Cardinals fan, listening to Jack Buck every night on the radio is Ozzie Smith, no question about it, and absolutely loved Ozzie. He was my favorite, no question about it.
That's a solid answer.
That 1985 home run was, I still got that recorded somewhere on a VHS that my dad recorded on that old VCR way back in '85, and just he was my favorite.
Outstanding. That's a good answer, Lance. And, of course, I know you're busy today. Got the JV tournament. You're on the bus right now. But thank you for taking the time to join us to talk Lady Rams softball, and we look forward to talking to you again next week.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.
You too. That's Lance Boldt, head coach of Lady Rams softball. And struggled yesterday. I don't think there's any denying that. A good modern-day team comes to town, end up losing the doubleheader, I know. But, you look at some of the things over the course of time, and it's the Lady Rams team that fundamentally continues to improve, and I think that's something you have to look at, especially with some young talent getting some experience yesterday and the dividends that will pay over the next year or so.
Well, and you're throwing out a lot of young players. I mean, this team, obviously, with school activities going on, you have injuries. You're throwing a lot of kids that are freshmen and sophomores into the fire yesterday in a quality program against Modern Day, and you get baptized really quick in that case. And if you have pitchers that are not strikeout pitchers, your defense has to make plays. At times they did yesterday, but at times they didn't. And whether it's weather or whatever, has to be what it is. And this youngest Lady Rams team is playing a lot better and will get better as time goes on.
Well, and I think there's no question about that. And when you look at the schedule that they're going to play the rest of the season, it's going to be a true test. And they would have had a great test today in the defending 2A state champion Nashville Hornets, but prom, of course, cancels that. And, you hope that that's a series that you can keep on the schedule to keep improving, because Nashville, for all intents and purposes, doesn't look like it's going to be suffering from a lack of talent anytime soon. And I mean, it's just that's the way it is over there. And so you look at that and hope that you can keep something like that on the schedule to continue to improve and to continue to get better, which is where Lady Rams softball is headed. Of course, we need to take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk Althoff Crusaders baseball with head coach Brett Isaacs. Rams head there on Thursday. This is a Saturday Sports Show presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
Yeah, it's what healthcare should be.
Back after these.
When an emergency happens, time is everything, and you don't want to spend that time in a waiting room. So choose Crossroads Community Hospital. With our 30 minutes or less ER service pledge, the entire team is committed to working diligently to have you initially seen by a physician, physician assistant, or nurse practitioner within 30 minutes of your arrival. When minutes matter, choose the ER that doesn't waste time. Choose Crossroads Community Hospital. Visit crossroadscommunityhospital.com/faster to learn more. If you are experiencing a medical emergency, call 911.
How do the best continue to get better? Hi, this is Chase Landers with Landers Collision Centers. We're no different than any team. When you're at the top of your game, the best wants to play for you. That's why, with the addition of our new shop foreman and the rest of our body shop crew, Landers now has a combined experience of over 70 years in dealing with the best parts and repair finishes on the market. This means when you walk into Landers, you can breathe a little easier knowing that your vehicle will receive the best quality repair by the best certified technicians within a reasonable amount of time. Again and again, we work directly with most insurance companies and have loaners and rental vehicles on site for your convenience. We're proud to not only be the standard, but to keep raising the bar in collision repair. Come meet the staff, take a tour of our facilities, and get to know the Landers crew that Landers Collision has so proudly acquired. Big or small, Landers fixes them all. Give us a call, 1-888-LANDERS. That's 1-888-LANDERS.
State Farm, this is Jessica.
Hey, Jessica, Jerry Newman. Does State Farm offer more discounts to more drivers?
Yep, like the good driver discount.
So it's for good, but not great drivers.
No, Jerry. There's also the multi-line discount.
For calling from multiple lines while driving.
You should never use a phone while driving.
I only make calls from my car when I'm stuck in a ditch or something.
Are you in a ditch?
Yes, I am.
State Farm offers more discounts to more drivers than any other insurance company. Get to a better state.
One more reason to call State Farm agent Tony Boldt in Mount Vernon at 242-1421.
And we welcome you back to the Saturday Sports Show on WMIX and WMIXSports.com. Chris Hugo with Mike Richardson and Danny Zerwinski in studio for you, courtesy of Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
Yeah, it's what healthcare should be.
Very glad to welcome to the program now the head coach of Althoff Crusaders baseball, a guest we've wanted to have for quite a while, Brett Isaacs. Coach, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Welcome to the program. It's about time.
Well, I'm glad to be on it.
Give us a background of how your roads led to Althoff from high school to where you are right now, the head coach of the Althoff Crusaders baseball team.
Okay. Well, I went to high school in Pinckneyville, and I was fortunate enough to be able to come up and play at SWIC at junior college for Van Smith up in the Belleville area, and then after that, I went on and played at Murray State. And after getting done with school, I went on and actually coached in Nashville, Illinois, for 2 years under Dave Beath. And really learned a lot from him. He's a great coach, and it was a good start for me. And then, really, I always wanted to get back to the Metro East. After being up here playing for SWIC and stuff, really wanted to get back here. And the job was open, and so I went for it. And even though I was 25 years old, kind of surprised they hired me. But it's worked out well for me ever since.
Worked out well at Althoff, it has. And being at Althoff, a little different scenario, with a team that play a smaller school that plays in the South 7 Conference. With baseball, is that a big problem, or is that just go out and play baseball, doesn't matter how big or how small the schools are that you play?
Well, it's kind of a little bit of both. We play probably 33 games on our schedule, and probably 20 of them at least are 3A, 4A teams. And so it can be a little bit of a grind for us sometimes. Last night we played Edwardsville, and that's a tough matchup for us sometimes. But the conference, I think, we go at it and we compete well. But day in, day out, I think a schedule like that where we're playing bigger schools, we'll have a rough day every now and then. But our conference this year is really good. I really like it.
You talk about the South 7, you mentioned that. It seems like in the last 2 or 3 years, Mount Vernon's kind of won last 2 or 3 years, but overall, it seems like in baseball especially, this conference top to bottom has some very good coaches, and it meant the programs have become very, very tough day in and day out, as you mentioned.
Yes, I really enjoy the coaches in the South 7. I think they do a great job, and starting with Tim there in Mount Vernon, he's really done a fantastic job there, and where I look at them as one of the elite 3A programs in the area. And then you go right there next door at Centralia. Matt Kottmeyer competed against him for a long time now, and he does just an outstanding job too. And I like their team this year, and I think he's a junior pitcher with McCreakin. He really did well against us.
I look at this. You've been a part of the Pinckneyville-Nashville rivalry for multiple sides. But now being at Althoff, explain to our listeners who may not realize and understand how much of a rivalry there is between Althoff West and East in that Belleville area.
It's very intense. Especially, and one thing I've noticed, it's definitely kind of a steeper rivalry with West than East. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's the proximity. They're very close. I think a lot of kids that live in the West End end up going to Althoff or vice versa. And they just grow up playing with each other. If it's Pinckneyville, Nashville, they grow up playing against each other all the time. Mm-hmm. But at West and Althoff, a lot of these kids grow up playing on the same teams. But then when they get up to high school, they're playing against each other, so they all know each other well. And it's pretty heated. It's a lot of fun. It's really one of the most fun games of the year.
One of the best things about it is where you're located at over there. It's like a hotbed of baseball and all kinds of sports. But for your team in general this week coming up, I mean, you had Edwardsville yesterday. Then on Monday you go to Mater Dei, host Cahokia Tuesday, Mount Vernon Thursday, and then Belleville West Saturday. It is a relentless, brutal schedule for your team next week.
It is, and sometimes I look at that and think the same thing every week. And that's what I was talking about with us playing so many 3A, 4A teams. It's really a grind. And one thing I've always said, and I've learned this, I think, from being here and playing a tough schedule, is people will say, well, you get better from playing better competition. And I think that that's true if you survive that schedule. And I mean that from a confidence standpoint. I know we've had a couple of years where I thought we had decent teams, but by the end we were just so beat up that we didn't believe in ourselves. And but if you can survive that schedule and have confidence at the end of it, you can really feel good about it.
And feeling good about it, you do. You play at an outstanding baseball facility, Whitey Herzog area, that park there in Belleville that you play at. How nice is that to roll into that every day for practice and games, have a facility like that to play in?
It's a joy. It kind of changes your attitude, and I just feel good every day being out there. Just a positive atmosphere, and it also gives us an opportunity to have a big event like we're going to have next weekend when we play Belleville West. We can have a doubleheader that starts a little later, and our big game will start about 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock. Play it under the lights. We're hoping to get 500, 1,000 people out to a baseball game, and that doesn't happen very much. And it's a lot revolves around that field.
Coach, as you become familiar with us here on the Saturday Sports Show and we have you on more and more, you'll become accustomed to our final question. It's always off topic. It's our WMIX Sports Social Media Question of the Week. This just happens to be a week that's actually sports related. We want to know, growing up, who was your sports hero?
Probably Steve Largent.
Nice.
Wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. The obvious answer with baseball would probably be Ozzie Smith, somebody like that. George Brett was a favorite player, but probably the one I looked up to the most was Steve Largent.
Does that mean you're a Seahawks fan as well?
I was. And I wore number 80 in high school in football because Steve Largent, and but that's about it. No, I've grown out of the Seahawks.
Coach, thank you for taking the time to join us today. We look forward to seeing you on Thursday, and hopefully you will have a lineup card for us like you always do.
Certainly.
Always appreciate it. You are you are always prepared for us, and we can't thank you enough.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. That's Brett Isaacs, of course, head coach of the Althoff Crusaders, and glad to have him on.
Yeah.
That's one that, you now and me before, having gotten to know a little bit from covering Rams baseball, and just a great baseball mind, a great mind just to have on. We're glad to have him here on the Saturday Sports Show. Our next guest, his team is out in front of the South 7 Conference, 3-0, 7-5 overall. It's Centralia Orphans head coach Matt Kottmeyer. We'll have him after the break here on the Saturday Sports Show, powered by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
Yeah, it's what healthcare should be.
Back after these.
More Americans are on the move today than ever before. One of the most popular modes of transportation is the motorcycle. Motorcycles take us to our jobs, school, to the beach, and all around the country. If you're a bike rider, your Pekin Insurance Agency, Page Insurance on Crownview in Mount Vernon, wants to make sure you have the best insurance protection while you're riding. Ask about the money-saving auto cycle discount and the experienced driver discount, too. Call Page Insurance at 242-7000 today about motorcycle insurance from Pekin Insurance.
When you hear the warm, inviting sound of a crackling fire, what comes to mind? A rustic campground? A cozy cabin? How about the new Good Samaritan Regional Health Center? Our new family lounges feature a lot of comforts you might not expect. Things like this. No, that's not a babbling brook or serene stream out in the countryside. It's a 2-story waterfall located right here at Good Samaritan. And that's not the only way we're raising the bar for patient comfort. We've added lush healing gardens, as well as wall after wall of beautiful artwork, all designed to create the perfect healing atmosphere. And if all this sounds like music to your ears, we encourage you to check us out. Chances are, we're not too far from where you are right now.
The new Good Samaritan Regional Health Center. Raising a hospital, raising the bar.
Southern Illinois now has a better home for sports. It's the all-new WMIXSports.com. Jam-packed with local scores, video highlights, and archives of every local sports broadcast on WMIX. Did your team win? Missed that game-winning shot last night? Didn't catch your favorite coach on the Saturday Sports Show? WMIXSports.com is right at your fingertips. On your computer, your smartphone, your tablet, or your video game console. It's the all-new WMIXSports.com. Another free service from Withers Broadcasting.
And we welcome you back to the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX, WMIXSports.com. Glad to have you with us. Chris Hugo with Danny Zerwinski and Mike Richardson in studio, courtesy of Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
Yeah, it's what healthcare should be.
Glad to welcome to the program. He is the head coach of Centralia Orphans baseball, 3-0 in the South 7 Conference. They sit atop the standings. Matt Kottmeyer, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
We're privileged to finally have you. And, of course, the Orphans, not that far removed from a sectional semifinal run in 2010, ran into the Rams in 2011, and then go to a tough Highland Regional last year. But trying to rebound this year and sitting atop the conference race again at 3-0, undefeated in the conference, 2 games above 500, things seem to have started fairly well for Orphans baseball.
Yeah, we've been doing okay. We have a lot of room to improve, but we've been able to keep ourselves in most ball games this year because our pitching has been fairly consistent. We've been playing pretty decent defense throughout the course of the year. And when you can do those things, you can keep yourself in a lot of games. I mean, games we lost, except for one, we had opportunities to give ourselves a chance to win. So we've been fairly consistent in some areas, but in some areas we got to get a lot better as the season goes on.
To catch our listeners up on the Orphans spring this year, how has the weather impacted your schedule this year, if any at all?
Well, we have, I would say probably the biggest impact was our ability to practice or not practice. we were on the school parking lot or in the gym the first several weeks of school, which I'm sure 90% of people around here were. But that's probably the biggest impact. We've had 4 or 5 games rained out. We've been able to make up one of them, or add a game actually with Mundelein out of the Chicago area. And we've got 12 games in so far, so from that perspective, it's okay. But I think everybody was probably just a little bit late getting their stuff together just because we couldn't get outside till games started being played, really.
When I look at your schedule, you at Centralia have done a very good job not only bumping your schedule up, but you also play a great mix, I think, one of the better schedules around, of 1A through 4A varieties to help get your team ready. Is that something you especially have been having your hands on to try to get better over the years?
Well, I think it's good to play a lot of different types of baseball and a lot of styles because that prepares you for the postseason. I mean, obviously we've got teams, 3A teams that are in our conference in the South 7. We play a lot of the Mississippi Valley teams as well, but we play 6 out of the 8 teams from the Southwestern Conference, which is primarily a 4A conference, like O'Fallon, Edwardsville, the Belleville schools, Alton, people like that. And I mean, there's some pretty quality baseball there. Plus, we do play a few 1A schools, and baseball's kind of different than most sports in the fact that, like, sometimes with basketball and football, whoever's got the most talent's pretty much going to win. It's just the way it is. In baseball, smaller schools can compete against the bigger schools depending upon the type of pitchers you have and just the way that you approach the game mentally. It's just good to play a lot of different people, I think.
Your Orphans come to town on Tuesday afternoon to play the Mount Vernon Rams, intense rivalry and all that. Tell our listeners some of the kids that we're going to be hearing their names called out on Tuesday that you're relying on this baseball season.
I would say probably the first name to bring up would be Mason McCreakin. He's a junior. He's been our best pitcher so far. He's a kid that's got pretty good stuff. He threw yesterday a few innings against Carlisle, got the win. He's a kid that got pretty good velocity, good breaking ball, and he's got quite a bit of potential on the mound. Some of our seniors, Drew Shores plays first base for us. Matt Brashear and Diamond Societich are outfielders. They've done a good job for us. On the mound, additionally, Ryan Miller, who also plays shortstop, and Kyle Davis, our third baseman, have been doing a good job. So, and also another kid we just brought up from the JV. He played 4 or 5 games with us, is a sophomore named B.J. Smith. He hit a couple home runs at Mater Dei the other day and kind of gave us a little bit charge in our lineup, which we needed because we've been struggling at the plate.
Coach, one thing, I know it's your first time on our show, at least since I've been here. Tell us a little bit about how you became, from college to now, how you became head coach of the Centralia Orphans.
Well, let's see. I was actually I came home from school. I went to school in New Orleans, at the University of New Orleans, and played baseball there. And when I got done, I came home, and I started substitute teaching around the area, and I actually started substitute teaching at the junior high and the high school a lot, and I got my first full-time job at the junior high. And then Don Walker was the varsity coach at that time, and I volunteered, helped him out 1 year. And then when the job came open, I was fortunate enough to get the job, and I moved positions over to the high school and been teaching and coaching here ever since.
And, of course, doing a great job there in Centralia. New to the program, maybe you're familiar with our WMIX Sports Social Media Question of the Week already. It's an off-topic question we usually ask. This week it just happens to be about sports. Growing up, who was your childhood sports hero?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I necessarily one particular guy, but I'd say, like a lot of kids that grew up around here in the 1980s, was just Cardinals baseball. I mean, 1982, 85, 87. They had some great teams, especially I remember the team in 1985. They didn't win the World Series. They were fun to watch. They had great pitching, stole a ton of bases. So I would say probably more than one particular individual, just that style of baseball and watching those teams managed by Whitey Herzog is probably what I remember the most from my childhood, right?
That's definitely an answer that works for us. And, of course, it'll be the 3-0 Orphans and 2-1 Mount Vernon Rams on Tuesday. Good luck. We'll see you then, and good luck to the Orphans the rest of the way.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you having me on. Take care.
A pleasure. That's Matt Kottmeyer, of course, head coach of Centralia Orphans baseball, and one of those guys that you get to know and you start to see the mind up there and doing a great job there in Centralia. And, of course, we'll see them on Tuesday when the Centralia Orphans come to town. But you think back in D.C., I think you were there, 2010 sectional. It was Centralia, Mount Vernon in one semifinal, Triad, and somebody else, doesn't matter now, in the other semifinal. And just a great game that was. And it seems like the Rams and the Orphans have always found a way to run into each other in the postseason until the past couple of years, until last year, and we'll see what happens this year.
Well, it's a case where a lot of people, our listeners, are familiar over the summers that Mount Vernon Centralia is a great rivalry, whether it's Pony League, Colt League, Legion, Junior Legion, whatever the case may be, and all other sports and it spills into. But Centralia, obviously known for its basketball over the years, really a town that has had good baseball for many, many years. I mean, Donnie Walker was at Woodlawn High School and went to Centralia, had a successful program over the years. You know, he and Gil Bernard had battles not only at Woodlawn Waltonville, but also up at Mount Vernon Centralia. So it's not that Centralia hasn't had success baseball-wise. It's just been kind of quiet. And with Matt Kottmeyer in at the helm, this is a team that's starting to battle in 3-0 in the South 7 Conference. They're the dogs on the block that everybody's probably looking at right now as being a favorite with their pitching this spring.
Well, and you think back to, gosh darn it, that game against Carbondale for the Mount Vernon Rams, and thinking that this could be a 3-0-3-0 matchup, and you know, the conference race on the line Tuesday, and it should be a dandy between the Mount Vernon Rams and the Centralia Orphans, and we'll kind of see how it goes down on Tuesday afternoon. 4:15 will be your pregame as the Orphans come to town here on WMIX and WMIXsports.com. Lady Rams softball versus the Annies will be on the air as well. That'll be on our sister station, the Big 1210 WILY, online at mywithersradio.com/Centralia. You can hear both games from any device, and that's the great thing about that. We need to take a break here on the Saturday Sports Show. We'll talk with Kerry Martin at some point about his induction into the Hall of Fame. Kerry Martin, Marion Wildcats head football coach, of course, won the state title at Carterville back in '96. I believe came to Carterville from Sparta. Prior to that, he started maybe at Flora, if I have the timeline right. And that was after doing some student teaching and coaching at Benton, if I remember that, and did my prep correctly. Here on the Saturday Sports Show, courtesy of Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
Yeah, it's what healthcare should be.
We're back after these.
Don't just dream about a better job. Go get it with scores of programs that take 2 years, 1 year, or even just a few months to complete. Rend Lake College is your gateway to a career you'll love. From nursing to coal mining, from computer programming to cosmetology, and everything in between. Rend Lake College is affordable, convenient, and ready to get you trained for your new job fast. Call us at 618-437-5321 or visit us at rlc.edu.
From Paducah to Peoria, Evansville to St. Louis, this is AM 940 WMIX Mount Vernon, the free service from Withers Broadcasting.
Spring is here, and just about everyone wants to be more mobile. Stop by TMS Mobility, a division of the Medicine Shop Pharmacy, for all your mobility product needs. They carry a large selection of scooters, wheelchairs, and so much more. Best of all, you can rent them by the day, week, or month. The staff at TMS Mobility can take care of billing your insurance, too. TMS also carries a large selection of vehicle lifts for your scooter. Here's pharmacist and pharmacy owner Eric Black.
We service a 60-mile radius area, so a pretty wide area. We service orders from several area hospitals, and we have the staff in place that really sets us apart. We have 3 respiratory therapists and 2 seating specialists to help with seating on wheelchair and power chair needs. And we just feel that we have the staff and the warehousing and the facilities in place to really set us apart from any of our competitors in the area.
TMS Mobility, 2339 Broadway in Mount Vernon.
The technology in the 2013 Ford Fusion keeps you connected with the world and with your car. Hi, Roy Schmidt, Ford dealer at Ford Square in Mount Vernon. Available Sync with My Ford Touch allows you to keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road while you play your favorite music. Control the interior climate, make or receive phone calls, and receive turn-by-turn directions. The new suspension system delivers a smooth ride, and for peace of mind, the available intelligent all-wheel drive system gives you traction when you need it most. Already affordable, drive away in a 2013 Ford Fusion for only $20,995 when you finance through Ford Motor Credit. Come see one of our associates at Ford Square Mount Vernon, 1501 Broadway in Mount Vernon, Illinois, or see our entire inventory online at fordsquare.com.
You can count on us. Yes, you can.
There's just one place where students are students first, and athletics are played with purpose and perspective. There's just one place where a team is more than a group of individual agendas. It's a catalyst for demonstrating the potential of the collaborative spirit. There's just one place where players, coaches, and fans experience the exhilaration that happens when an entire community rallies behind the school team. That place is your local high school. High school sports offer more than the joy of competition. Studies show that student athletes are more likely to enjoy greater levels of achievement in other areas of their lives, including academics. In addition, high school sports help young people in Illinois develop the discipline and confidence they need to be leaders in life, even as they unite communities like nothing else. High school sports, a winning part of a complete education. This message presented by the Illinois High School Association and the Illinois Athletic Directors Association.
I'm Kevin Snyder with a look at your next rad weather. For today, it will be partly sunny and milder with a high around 60, then a mainly clear and chilly night tonight, low 43. Tomorrow it will be breezy and warmer, partly sunny with a high 75, then variably cloudy and warm for Monday. A shower or thunderstorm will be around in the afternoon, high 73. Next rad weather from WMIX, Mount Vernon, Illinois.
And we welcome you back to the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX, WMIXSports.com. Chris Hugo with Danny Zerwinski and Mike Richardson in studio, brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
It's what healthcare should be.
Very proud to welcome our next guest. He is the head coach of Marion Wildcats football and, of course, now an Illinois High School Football Coaches Association Hall of Famer. Kerry Martin, good morning and congratulations.
Well, good morning, and thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
A well-deserved honor. Of course, we all remember the state championship run at Carterville in '96, but the turnaround, the culture change at Marion is nothing short of spectacular. What does it mean to you to be honored by your peers in such a way?
Well, I think the main thing is the fact that when you get honored for something like this, it's as a head football coach, you didn't achieve this by yourself. I mean, it's an opportunity for me to try to share this with a lot of great players and great assistant coaches, and of course the support of my family, and I've worked with great athletic directors and administrators, and this is certainly as I've said to people, an individual honor, but it is a group achievement, and so I think it's great. I'm excited about it, and it just affords me the opportunity, though, just to be able to look back and to be able to reflect on those people that have helped me get here, and the great impact they've had on my life.
Your impact on high school football in Southern Illinois is still being made, obviously. A big impact still being made. In your career, I know this is going to be hard to do, but is there a game or games that stand out in your mind now going into, obviously, 2013, a lot more games left to go, but is there a game that you had in your career so far that just stands out and says, yeah, that one there told me a lot or may really mean importance to me?
That's a great excuse my voice is a little lost today. That's a great question. I don't have one. I think the semifinal game against DuQuoin at Carterville in 1996 was certainly one of the great games I've been a part of. I felt like that was, even with the passage of a lot of time, that's still a huge game for me. I think my first year as a head coach, we beat a very good Murfreesboro team at home in a must-win ball game, and for a young coach, they were ranked number 1 in Southern Illinois at the time, and we were still, Sparta, and still struggling and still trying to rebuild, and we were, I think, 1-2 at the time. We had to forfeit our first game because of an illegal player and so forth, and a kid that had a bad residence or something. And I remember as a young coach, we upset Murfreesboro that night, and that gave us a chance to go on a winning streak and make the playoffs at Sparta my first year. And so that game was extremely big for me as a young coach. I think at Marion there's been a few ball games. I think we won a very big ball game here against Charleston in the quarterfinals to go to the semifinals here at Marion. I mean, there's just a few select games that really stand out to me as a coach, and had a huge impact, I think, on the programs at that time. And so I really don't have one, but I have a collective group that I think are really important to me.
I can remember, because, see, I went to your quarterfinal game that year in '96. You were at Murphy. Windy, cold day. Albertini's field goal was going at the end, and it just looked like it died a duck. Just done. I mean, it just ended up short. There's a milk carton somewhere that got destroyed the next week at Carterville because I was jumping up and down. I got there early, stood on a milk carton for hours waiting for this game to start. That told me then that you and your staff had something going at Carterville that was going to hard to be turned around. But when you left Carterville, a security blanket, the safety of winning, to go to Marion to, as Chris said, turn a culture around. 11 years later, Marion is a perennial power in football. How, I guess, the glow of winning, the glow of feeling good about getting that turned around and now charging through with Marion football being a winning program. How does that feel now, looking back of leaving the security of the winning at Carterville?
Well, it's even more satisfying today because of the fact that, you're right. Carterville was a great place. It was a job that was very difficult to leave because of the success we had and the success we expected to have in the future. I mean, we look for great things and to come, and the challenge of trying to turn Marion around was hanging there. An opportunity to really try to make a difference at a bigger program, and the first 3 years were not easy. And I think the greatest satisfaction now, of course, at Marion is the fact that I think it wasn't easy at first. It took a while. It took some patience. It took some retooling and some things that I wasn't comfortable doing, and I had to change my old ways to fit a new program. And I think this Hall of Fame thing has also given me the opportunity to kind of reflect back on some things, which coaches almost always look forward. They rarely look back because you're always worried about the next season, the next game, the next, the next workout. And I think looking back now, I look back and I think to myself, we've had some great challenges here at Marion, but there is a tremendous amount of satisfaction that we have come a long way, and certainly not satisfied. We feel like we could be even better, but there is some satisfaction. I think a lot of that comes from the very difficult first 3 years that really challenged us, but I think in the end made us better coaches.
Something that I have watched you do from Carterville, well, number one, I can't believe you're that old. I looked at the age in the paper and I said, it can't be right. But number one is you have the innate ability, you and your staff, to adapt to what players you have based on a system. You don't get stuck in and say, I'm going to coach this system no matter what.
Right.
As a veteran coach that you are, and a young, inspiring coach or coaches that may be coming up to do this, how important is that to not get locked into, you got to play this defense, you got to run this offense, as far as high school goes, when you're taking kids from your school and you don't have that opportunity like college to go out and get what you want?
Well, that's a great, that's a great question. I think the most important thing is you still have your base philosophy. You still have what you believe in. You still have your the core things that you think make or break a successful program, and you never leave those or deviate from those. I think even offensively, you can maintain a philosophy of offense, but you have to be flexible, as you said, in and around the talent that you've got each given year, whether your quarterback's a drop-back passer or a scrambler or a runner. You've got to be able to make some adjustments within your own system to accommodate the talents of the kids you've got. And we've been blessed to have a staff that's been, as you said, pretty good at doing that. And I think that's part of the success is knowing what your kids on this given season can do and being able to tap into their talents and not try to force them into things that they're not good at or not comfortable doing or maybe stretching them beyond where they can go. And we're doing that currently with this upcoming team. We've got a different makeup for 2013, and we're going to have to make some adjustments to our offensive and defensive game plans for the talent set and the skill set those kids have. And I just think that's part of coaching. And I also think it keeps the game interesting. I think it keeps the game exciting for a coach. I think it keeps you fresh, and it keeps you looking for some new wrinkles that can make you a better coach.
And speaking of things getting better, we look at the South 7 Conference, and when you get here, Cahokia, Althoff, obviously at the top of the heap. Dan Mings is starting to get things going in Mount Vernon. You arrive in Marion, start to change the culture there. Now you have Ray calling in Centralia. You have Dan Kester, of course, who was swiped from Effingham and using that mind in Carbondale. Night in and night out, it's always a tough battle in the South 7 Conference now. You kind of have a little bit to do with that and everybody wanting to get better. How does that make you feel?
Well, the conference is so much more balanced than it was. You're exactly right. There's a lot more parity, I think, week in and week out. I feel like there's just a dogfight, and you go into the conference schedule this year, or any year, the last 3 or 4 years, you just have no idea who the favorite's going to be. And our conference has done a great job of hiring very good coaches and making football a priority, and bringing in people like Dan and Ray and Jared Shaner and other coaches that I know are quality guys that are making a difference. And in the end, it makes you a better football coach. It really does. It makes our program better going against these kinds of coaches week in and week out. And so I'm real proud of where the South 7 is conference-wise right now as far as competition and the level that our kids are playing at.
And it really seems like with the parity that is now in the conference, and having seen inadvertently a coaches meeting from afar one night at a local establishment, it really seems like there's a brotherhood amongst all of the coaches in the South 7 Conference. And even though you're rivals on a Friday night for one given week, it just seems like everybody gets along.
Oh, I would say that's true. I really do. I believe that we have a great relationship among the coaches in our conference. We share a lot of things together. We work together in the All-Star game. We encourage each other through the playoffs and in non-conference ball games. And I think that's kind of rare in a lot of conferences. I think there's good rivalries here. I think, but I think it's healthy. And I think our kids can see that you can be highly competitive, but you can remain, strong sportsmen and really respect the other town, the other school, and the other kids on that program.
And rolling into this, and you talk about the schedule for 2013, obviously the question in the air about Cahokia, we're not going to get into details and specifics of what anything and everything could be going on, but is that kind of a cloud in the back of the mind for the South 7 Conference to kind of be proactive maybe as to, hey, we can go 1 year, but what are we going to do if this kind of spirals into more than 1 year?
Yeah, I think we're all worried about that, to be honest with you. I think there's a concern not only for this season. I think we'd be naive to think that we don't need to think a little bit in the future. The way the budgets are and the way the cutbacks are coming across the country and in our state, you've got to be concerned about the future of your conference. Where, we need every team that we've got in our conference to remain a conference, and we just can't afford to lose anybody. And of course, it does. In the back of your mind, you've got to start looking at Plan B and Plan C to make sure that you're prepared for anything like this that could happen. I'm fully confident that Cahokia will be on our football schedule next year, and I think they'll get things worked out. But you've got to be proactive, and you've got to make some decisions as an athletic director and as a school to put yourself in a position not to be left out in the cold if things don't change. And so, we're doing that, and I think everybody in our conference knows we have to do that. We've got to make some preparations and be looking to the future.
Speaking of looking to the future, and I don't want to get you, I, or others here involved with trouble with the IHSA, but I've kind of been talking about the last few years on radio is the IHSA needs to take a big, hard look at football because scheduling is so difficult for schools such as Marion, Mount Vernon, Carbondale, and otherwise, and also these conferences that have 10 teams that may lose a team or so because of schools closing, whatever. Is it time for the IHSA to kind of look at football in general as a whole and maybe change the scheduling system so you don't have an example, Heron and Massac playing twice or Carlisle and Westland playing twice? Because it seems the system's messed up because teams can't find games, but yet we have to play at the current system we are. Isn't there a change due sometime soon?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is the fact that what works really well for Marion and Carbondale and Mount Vernon may not work well for other parts of the state or other conferences. And I think that's the dilemma the IHSA faces. One solution fixes our problem, but it makes things more difficult maybe for somebody else. What makes sense for them doesn't make sense for us. And so we've got this dilemma where everyone's pulling the IHSA in different directions, demanding a change, and everyone has a valid argument. Everyone's got a good argument for what change they want and why they want it. But everybody's own problems are so unique that one solution doesn't fit all. So I don't know what the answer is. I've been in this business a long time, and I've looked at all kinds of scenarios, and some I like and some I don't. There's pros and cons for every one of them. So to be honest with you, I don't really know what the answer is, but you're right. They got to continue to look at it and keep searching and try to find maybe the solution that works for the largest number, for the biggest group, because there are scheduling problems. You're right. Problems that I've never seen or encountered as a coach before in my career, where schools are playing the same school twice, or the distances people are traveling to get a ball game. And we have a 1 3-hour trip and several 2-hour trips, and it just makes it difficult on your fan base. And I think it makes it difficult in your program to develop those healthy rivalries that you want to have, where you know the other kids and they know your kids, and there's a relationship between the players on the field. And now we're playing schools that our kids sometimes don't even know the mascot of some of the teams we're playing because they're so far away. And it's just kind of a different thing than maybe I've seen when I first started coaching. Of course, I'm at a bigger school now too, and that makes a difference. We don't have as many schools that are that large down here, so I'll be forced to travel more, and that's part of it. But I don't really have an answer for you, but I do think it needs to be looked into, like you said.
Of course, Coach, one thing we do is our WMIX Sports Social Media Question of the Week to wrap up every interview. And this week we want to know, growing up, who was your childhood sports hero?
Wow. My childhood sports hero. Well, as I was growing up, believe it or not, I was a Miami Dolphin fan my whole life. And so when I was a young kid, my first favorite football player was a running back for the Miami Dolphins named Mercury Morris. Mm-hmm. A lot of fans are on the radio now are scratching their heads saying, who the heck is Mercury Morris? But Mercury Morris was my favorite football player when I was a little kid, and then it grew into other Miami Dolphin players, and then it was Dan Marino and so forth. So that was kind of my growing up. That's who I looked up to.
That's a pretty good choice because people don't realize the amount of talent that guy had, in those teams, and got himself in a little trouble and then got back, but that guy was pretty talented.
Right. Well, I make a joke sometimes that I had 3 posters on my wall as a kid at one time, and I think all 3 people ended up in jail in the future. So I had Rose up there one time, and I had Mercury Morris and somebody else, and I got O.J. Simpson on my wall.
Uh-oh.
So I didn't have great luck sometimes looking up at some of these guys, but on the field, I know he was a great player, and like you said, got in some trouble, but that's part of it, I guess.
Coach, obviously we wish the best of luck to the Marion Wildcats in 2013. A very special congratulations to you on your Hall of Fame induction, and we look forward to seeing you sometime soon.
Well, I appreciate the call, and I appreciate the opportunity, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's Kerry Martin, Hall of Famer now, Marion Wildcats head football coach, and I think you'll find most people will say genuine great guy, and glad to have him on, glad to talk about that, pick his brain a little bit about scheduling's going to become increasingly difficult.
Class act. There's no other way to say it. I mean, he's a great coach, knows what he's doing, but he and his staff class act as far as on and off the field goes.
Well, there's one he kind of has to worry about, and we kid in jest. And of course, we love visiting with their coaching staff, usually week 5 of every year. And of course, we'll look forward to that again in 2013, as the Marion Wildcats this year are supposed to come to J.D. Shields Memorial Stadium. We need to take a break on the Saturday Sports Show. When we come back, we'll talk with voice of the Harrisburg Bulldogs from WEBQ, Jeffrey Drake, about the recent so-called penalizations that were handed down to Randy Smith-Peters of Harrisburg and, of course, Coach Thomas of Seton Academy and allegedly the officials on the 2A state championship basketball game. It's all next on the Saturday Sports Show, presented by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
Yeah, it's what healthcare should be.
It happens every spring. You need a great quality new-to-you vehicle. There's a reason why Second Chance Auto has been helping put families into affordable, dependable vehicles for over 32 years. Honest, fair deals. Ain't nothing fancy, just great vehicles with warranties, honest deals, and bank rate financing for all. That's the only way Second Chance Auto will do business. And you don't even have to leave your home to get credit approval. Call Second Chance Auto at 244-4582 and get pre-approved right over the phone. They know bad things can happen to good people. Second Chance Auto, Route 142 East in Mount Vernon.
Hi, I'm Bria Ashby with Community First Bank. It's always my goal to make the transition to Community First Bank as easy as possible for our customers. Our handy switch kit helps in doing just that. Whether it's direct deposit, auto transfers, or online banking, I'm here to help. Come see me at our 42nd Street location to open your account today, and let me remind you how banking should be. Community First Bank with locations in Mount Vernon, Woodlawn, Dix, and Ina. Welcome back to Personal Banking. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
When an emergency happens, time is everything, and you don't want to spend that time in a waiting room. So choose Crossroads Community Hospital. With our 30 minutes or less ER service pledge, the entire team is committed to working diligently to have you initially seen by a physician, physician assistant, or nurse practitioner within 30 minutes of your arrival. When minutes matter, choose the ER that doesn't waste time. Choose Crossroads Community Hospital. Visit crossroadscommunityhospital.com/faster to learn more. If you are experiencing a medical emergency, call 911.
That don't kill me, can only make me stronger. I need you to hurry up now, cause I can't wait much longer. I know I got to be right now.
And we welcome you back to the Saturday Sports Show, WMIX, WMIXsports.com. It's powered by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
Yeah, it's what healthcare should be.
You bet it is. And, of course, very proud to welcome to the program now. He is the voice of the Harrisburg Bulldogs on WEBQ. I was going to give him a fake pseudonym, but I decided not to. He's Jeffrey Drake. Jeffrey, good morning.
Hello, Mr. Hugo. How are you today?
You know, I'm doing pretty good.
I couldn't get him to do it. I had a name picked out, but he wouldn't do it.
It's one that we use for you. It's not the usual.
You know who I am, don't you?
Yes.
Allegedly. Know who you are. Yeah.
Anyhow, obviously, you know, we were able to sit down and talk about this. I think it was Wednesday and it was the day that the IHSA handed down the announcement of the penalties, so to speak, in the state championship game. Of course, you were there broadcasting it on WEBQ on behalf of the Harrisburg Bulldogs. And any surprises in what was handed down? I mean, Coach Smith-Peters gets a year of probation, and if he doesn't undergo a specified training through the National Federation of High Schools, he would miss out on any postseason run next year. Coach Thomas of Seton Academy, I believe, gets a 2-year postseason ban with no chance of a training to alleviate that. Plus, he gets a year of probation. The officials, of course, were strongly reprimanded, so to speak, but never officially released. What are your thoughts on all of this?
I kind of thought it would be more school-centered sanctions, maybe towards Harrisburg, just to, save face since it was such a big deal. And, you guys were there, and I still don't know what the whole concern was about. It was a physical state championship game with a kid who was ejected for Seton Academy that did turn the tide of the game. But, there were no fights, and I know there was that high rate in the tunnel at halftime with the Seton head coach and some of the IHSA people and the Harrisburg players that were kind of blocked from going to their locker room. That doesn't get a ton of publicity, but I still don't know what the state and what they're looking at in terms of what is so egregious about this game. I know that at the medal ceremony and the trophy ceremony probably kicked some people off and went into normal, but I thought as far as Harrisburg sanctions went, Coach Smith-Peters kind of had to be the sacrificial lamb, and that's unfortunate. I kind of thought that maybe they do more school-wide sportsmanship classes for coaches or something like that. But as far as the online training he's got to go through, I think in August or October, that's got to be taken care of. But his reputation takes a little bit of a hit, and I think unjustly with this. I mean, he didn't get a technical called on him all season long in the 34 games, and it kind of taints the state championship a little bit. But I know he released a statement saying he doesn't want this to take away from what Harrisburg accomplished, because this was a fantastic basketball team, probably a once-in-a-lifetime basketball team in Harrisburg that went 33-1 and was able to cap off the season with the state championship. So maybe now we can just put this behind him, and he can do his training or whatever that is, and move on from there.
Putting this behind not only Coach Smith-Peters, the kids, the school, the town of Harrisburg, has the afterglow of maybe basking in the glory of that state championship kind of been shortened, where it's not got the same kind of fervor as it would have been had all this not been broken out?
I think it started that night at Carver Arena when the stadium personnel and the state turned out the lights on everybody and told them to leave, right after the game practically ends in the medal ceremony. I haven't been to 2A state championship game at the very end in a while, so I don't know if that's common or not, but from what I was told, people were allowed to stay around, and
yes,
championship team had a chance to meet some fans and shake some hands, but everybody was kind of ushered out of Carver Arena that night. And not long after that, I'm standing by the Harrisburg coaches, and I get the press release from the IHSA about how they're ashamed of, embarrassed by the actions by both teams. And I would think the Harrisburg coaches and their administration were kind of taken aback by that, but it just kind of snowballed from there. And I think it certainly did take away from being able to enjoy this. But maybe now you can just kind of move on. They're going to have the big trophy, and then I think Harrisburg's going as a team in early May to Springfield for Harrisburg Bulldog Day with the state lawmakers, and they're going to meet with Governor Quinn. So that'll be a time to maybe embrace and kind of enjoy it. But I think it has taken a little bit away from a otherwise very good, very positive basketball year.
I look at the sanctions that were divvied out and thrown out here and breaking them down. Obviously, I think when you look at it, you look at an aspect of the game that may or may not get talked about is the officiating. And having seen the Crew, saw them 4 times in postseason, there were a lot of questions no matter what type of game it was, sectional, super, or the state tournament. Seems to me like Randy Smith-Peters, who never got a technical, got told to get in the box a couple of times, never got anything done to him. Is he kind of being made the obviously you said scapegoat, but is he kind of being made there's coaches all over state that do the same things, but Randy Smith-Peters is being held to a higher level of accountability than all other coaches?
Yeah, and here's the question I have. I don't know what the probation entails. I mean, maybe you guys can shine some light on that, but this has been a well-publicized story. What happens if he runs into an official next year that holds a little bit of a grudge, regardless of where it is or what time of the season it is, and slaps him with a technical or slaps him with 2 technicals, and all of a sudden he gets kicked out of a game and for something he may or may not deserve to do? I mean, what happens if you get a rogue official who sees justice, he wants to take matters into his own hands next season, and then you're really kind of up a creek without a paddle? I mean, I don't know if the state would maybe look into that situation if it unfortunately were to come up, but I just think it raises a lot of questions next year being on probation and what that could entail, because it's a long year. I mean, the guy didn't get a technical all the season, and maybe he shouldn't in that state championship game. And I think what he was so animated about early on, it was a very physical game, and there was one particular call that went against Harrisburg, and the official who made the call rotated to the other side of the court. I know you guys were there and you saw it. Mm-hmm. He was out on the court probably and out of his coach's box. I think he was trying to get an explanation from the official who made the call, but they rotated around and he was as far away from the Harrisburg bench as you could have been. I think that's what his gripe was on that time. He wasn't trying to show anybody up. And I feel really bad for Randy because he's getting such a bad rap with this, but I think those of us who are close to him, people who know him off the court, know what a good person he is, and I really don't think that it's quite fair for what he's having to deal with this, because it takes away from the state championship team and a lot of hard work that himself and his coaches and his players all put in this season. But, you move on, you'll certainly take the state championship trophy, and looking back, it's a 33-1 season that, I was kind of surprised that they did knock off Seton Academy in that championship game personally. So, you certainly take that, and it's been a fun season and a fun athletic year at Harrisburg.
I think one of the other things that sort of has me, in question with some things, and we knew when the pairings for the officials were stated on Friday night, and we found out early Saturday morning that, just jokingly, because of seeing those guys in action several times, we just thought that there could possibly be some issues down the road. And my gosh, when you got people in the know a little bit, when you're already thinking about bad things, and then you see what ends up happening. But the only problem I also have is that when you have the director come out and put in writing and statements and things like this in all these interviews that the officials stating he's blaming the officials, you should have called a technical on Coach Smith-Peters. Well, yeah, but you can't tell the officials what to do. And then also saying something to the point, well, your player gets a technical and you didn't take him out of the ball game. That's not their right to try to dictate how games are coached. That's probably the biggest thing that I have an issue with.
Yeah, I think that Harrisburg may know that, and I know you're telling how my players how to act, but you're telling me how to maybe coach scheme and go about that, and that's something that is a little questionable. But again, Harrisburg, they're 2A state basketball champions, and I'm sure Coach Smith-Peters will smile and grin and bear it and take his course and everything like that, and you move on from there. But it was certainly an interesting winter that a little over a month ago wrapped up in Peoria, and I certainly didn't think after that game that we'd be sitting here a month and a couple of days after that talking about all this. But now maybe it's behind us, and this is something they can't take away from Harrisburg, and that's the main thing. When
you look at this, and Harrisburg wins, as you mentioned, the state championship after all this mess is now behind everyone, and everybody does what they're supposed to do and takes care of the penalties. Harrisburg gets this state championship in basketball. a month later now, what has that meant to the community, having that state trophy and state championship in Saline County?
I think maybe it'll start to sink in more with all these sanctions behind them and everything. But it's been a school that has had a lot of athletic success. I mean, in 2000 we won a state football championship, and since 2000 they've also won a baseball state title. They've lost in a couple of baseball title games. They've won a track state championship on the boys' side, and now they won a boys' basketball state championship. So that just kind of caps it off with the run on the boys' athletic side of things. So Harrisburg's been very fortunate to have a lot of talented student athletes, and this is a chance that they got to go to Peoria. They were lucky to beat St. Joe Ogden in that semifinal game, but it was a very talented team, and to win a state championship, that's something that's big for a community. And and I think it speaks volumes to Southern Illinois. You had a Gallatin County team that reached the super sectional and had a lead that kind of got away from them there late. That just could have gone to Peoria, but in 2A, Harrisburg wins it this year. Nashville wins the girls' 2A state championship. Robinson won a boys' state title a couple years ago, and then last year, of course, it was Bree Central. So I think it speaks volumes, at least in 2A right now. If they don't screw around with the classifications, how Southern Illinois can compete at a very high level in boys' basketball for the state tournament, and Harrisburg was just added to that list.
Speaking of added to that list, we're going to add to our list of our WMIX Sports social media question of the week. And this week's question is, growing up, who was your sports hero?
I was not much of an athlete, but Larry Walker, I'd go with the ex-Post and Rockies outfielder. He was my favorite Rocky until Todd Helton came along. But actually, my dad and I were in Denver to see the Rockies play. I saw his last game as a Rocky, and I first saw his first start in St. Louis because we flew back after he'd been traded to the Cardinals, and I kind of forced my dad to take me to Busch Stadium to see Walker start. Maybe it was a Sunday game against the Mets or somebody like that, but Larry Walker was a big fan of ours. I was a big fan of his, and it was always neat to see number 33 out there in right field, and I tried to maybe imitate him a little bit at the plate.
Well, Jeffrey, it's been a great time in Harrisburg. Finally, this thing is behind everyone. Everybody knows what's going on, what the penalty are. And we appreciate you joining us this morning for a bit to talk about everything and enjoy calling that championship game. That's one of those special things not everybody gets to do, and you got to be a part of one of those.
I've been blessed to be a part of the football state championship broadcast and a couple of baseball state championship games, and now a championship in basketball. So, yeah, I'm certainly very fortunate in that regard. You guys have a good weekend.
All right. Thank you, Jeffrey. It's Jeffrey Drake, voice of Harrisburg Athletics on WEBQ, one of our sister stations. And again, a situation that obviously the afterglow wasn't involved, as it usually is for a state championship, with all the issues that went on during and after the game. But, Mike, it's one of those things. A lot of parties involved in that had something to do with the whole situation adding up to what it was. You had coaches that probably very animated, very over-animated, should have been told to get somewhere or maybe teed up. You had referees that maybe were in over their heads, let the game get out of control in the first half. You had administrators and things happening after the game, trophies being left, medals being thrown down. Everybody had a part in this to make this situation what it was, and from here on out, I think the IHS saying everybody's learned something, and that we're not probably going to see something like this for a very long time, if ever.
Yeah, and everybody you mentioned in that monologue right there was all adults, and isn't it amazing that this is supposed to be for the kids?
Yeah, supposed to be, but all the adults
and when things go awry, why? Obviously, it's the adults that they have to get involved naturally. We're joking a little bit, but in all reality, we lose sight of the fact that this is a sport for kids, an extracurricular activity, and I know guidelines has got to be followed. And talking to several officials, I think we talked at length about it. No need beating a dead horse. If you give the coach a technical, things probably get calmed down a little bit more. But then if you don't, it's not right for the director of the association to come back and tell officials that you should have, and then you can't tell a coach at some point how to coach the game of basketball with his players and his assistant coaches. So a lot of wrongs done by a lot of people, but we can't lose sight of the fact that the kids still won that on the floor. It'll never be taken away from them, regardless of how egregious some of the things were that went on during that game. But they're the state champions, and they should be proud of what they accomplished on the year.
And they accomplished it with a state title, and, of course, there'll be more discussion as time goes by on this situation, the aftermath of the Class 2A state championship in boys basketball. We need to take a break. On the other side, Mike McManus, good friend of ours, works for our radio station in Centralia, also for this morning Sentinel newspaper. He will come in. He's done some research, done some talking about the Cahokia situation, the South 7 Conference, and what the future holds for his conference that has 6 schools, and Cahokia having issues, obviously like every other state, having money issues. We'll talk about that coming up next on the Saturday Sports Show on WMIX.
Southern Illinois now has a better home for sports. It's the all-new WMIXSports.com. Jam-packed with local scores, video highlights, and archives of every local sports broadcast on WMIX. Did your team win? Missed that game-winning shot last night? Didn't catch your favorite coach on the Saturday Sports Show? WMIXSports.com is right at your fingertips. On your computer, your smartphone, your tablet, or your video game console. It's the all-new WMIXSports.com. Another free service from Withers Broadcasting.
How do the best continue to get better?
Exactly.
Hi, this is Chase Landers with Landers Collision Center. We're no different than any team. When you're at the top of your game, the best wants to play for you. That's why, with the addition of our new shop foreman and the rest of our body shop crew, Landers now has a combined experience of over 70 years in dealing with the best parts and repair finishes on the market. This means when you walk into Landers, you can breathe a little easier knowing that your vehicle will receive the best quality repair by the best certified technicians within a reasonable amount of time. Again and again, we work directly with most insurance companies and have loaners and rental vehicles on site for your convenience. We're proud to not only be the standard, but to keep raising the bar in collision repair. Come meet the staff, take a tour of our facilities, and get to know the Landers crew that Landers Collision has so proudly acquired. Big or small, Landers fixes them all. Give us a call, 1-888-LANDERS. That's 1-888-LANDERS.
The Sports Show here on WMIX, Saturday Sports Show, always brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
Yeah, it's what healthcare should be.
Denny Swerwinski with Mike Richardson. Chris Hugo out to Brennan Klein Field to get set up for the Rams doubleheader against Effingham St. Anthony at 11 a.m. But joining us now to talk lots of things in the world of sports, our friend Mike McManus from Centralia, Illinois. Mike McManus, how are you this morning?
I'm just trying to get a ruling on this drop I'm wanting to take.
Hey, you know what? If that's the case, we're all disqualified from golf in any round anybody's ever played, you know?
Well, I'll tell you what, you talk about a gray area. This is going to be interesting how this goes forward down at Augusta with Tiger. To me, initially, I thought he should disqualify himself, but now the more I read and look and listen, I'm not so sure if the right thing for him to do is go eat breakfast to come out and shoot 63 today.
I would think he'd be on edge today and be very focused. One topic I want to get into before we get into Cahokia, Mike, is we were talking with Jeffrey Drake, who does Harrisburg games for WEBQ. You've been around basketball. You saw the incident. You saw Harrisburg and Seton Academy and the issues and the aftermath and everything. Your thoughts on the penalties and sanctions dropped this week from the IHSA?
Well, you know, still a gray area to me, Danny.
Yeah.
You know, I understand they had to do something. I don't know if this was the right something. But the IHSA could not just sit back. I knew last week the officials were going to be sanctioned, barred from postseason, and I don't know if that's even right. But something had to be done with the sportsmanship or lack thereof that was displayed. And I'm not talking about during the game, the after-game incidents or alleged incidents involving Coach Thomas at Seton Academy. Something had to be done. And then I kind of think, you know, I know a lot of people believe that the IHSA was essentially trying to tell Coach Smith-Peters how to coach his team, that when a player gets a technical foul, you pull him out of the game. And that's generally the gentleman's rule that we've seen, you know, calling games, covering games through the years. Mm-hmm. He elected not to do it. That's on Coach Smith-Peters. To me, the IHSA really doesn't have that kind of authority, but they kind of are telling you that they do in this instance. So I think the jury's still out, and Coach Smith-Peters can go take his ethics class and those things, and all will be right in the world in Harrisburg. And Coach Thomas, to me, after the incident that he pulled, in my opinion only, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the paper or the radio, he should have been fired. For him to come out of this with only getting 2 years suspension from postseason play, mind you, to me, a lot more could have been done. But I think it should have been done by the school more than it should have been done by the IHSA.
Hey, Mike, one more thing I've got to add to it, then we're going to definitely move on. But, I think we've heard from everybody, Marty Hickman, with all his sanctions and putting them in the paper and been on a few radio shows around and things of that nature. But the one person that I'm having an issue with is the director of officials. And why hasn't there been a statement on putting that particular group of men? And they may be great guys, but it's been noted. I've watched them guys call the last 4 or 5 regular season or postseason games. They struggled in smaller gyms, smaller situations. The rotation of officials, shouldn't somebody be more held accountable on that, and maybe a comment made from that person?
I think so, Mike. I would agree with what you said. Now, I will say, I don't have the experience that you have in watching these guys call basketball games. I do know one of the officials through football, and he's called state championship football games. That being said, again, I think that maybe you look at why, at the end of the first day, why was the decision made for these 3 to do the 2A state title game? I'm not saying they were the worst of the bunch or the best, but maybe there could have been something done there prior to this even happening that would have alleviated, all of this maybe never would have happened.
Yeah, and again, you said that one personally, and that's great. And I mean, I know I rode up in an elevator with a couple of them before, talked to them, but I just think they were over their heads, and it's not fair to those guys maybe to be put in that situation, but some type of evaluation, I thought, could have been done just a little bit ahead to alleviate the situation.
Yeah, well, Mike, let me add one more thing, too, that I don't think is right, and I don't think is fair, that the IHSA currently limits officials to 3 trips. I want the best officials in Peoria every year. And you know what? If it's the same 12 guys every year, then it's the same 12 guys every year.
I wish we had another hour to go on that. You're exactly my same thoughts. Absolutely.
Yeah, you see Ed Hightower work how many Final Fours? Why? Because he's one of the best. Tim Higgins works countless Final Fours. Valentine, those guys all work Final Fours because they are the best at what they do. And I wish the IHSA, we don't limit New Trier from going to state 3 times if they're the best baseball team, for example. To me, the officials should be treated the same way. If you rate out the best that year, regardless how many trips you've made in the past, you should get to continue to go on.
Speaking of going on, and that topic we could always bring back around here. Maybe that's a summertime topic, too. We got a lot of them lined up. We get into what got brought down this week. It's Cahokia High School announced as of Monday they're cutting every extracurricular activity they have, including all their sports. They're going to wait until July until the state funding comes in. At this point, there's a lot of belief that they'll play sports in the fall or in this school year and have things going. Obviously, some don't. Is there a case now for the South 7 to really be concerned this year, and or should the South 7 be very proactive as far as their options are heading out of this upcoming school year?
Well, I am in the camp that believes they will play this year. And I'm going to kind of get in the middle of this, both sides. I'm going to argue both sides. I am convinced Cahokia will find money to have athletics for this year. And maybe not just athletics, maybe the band and the other things that they've cut. That being said, if I am an athletic director or a principal in the South 7, I am not letting one more blade of grass grow under my feet. It's time to get something done. We, for 10 years, basically since Cahokia has joined the conference, there have been other incidents leading up to all of this that I would have been looking for an alternative way before this announcement came out last Monday. For example, you had the shooting at a freshman girls basketball game. You've had multiple occasions of lack of security at games and some other things going on that should have been dealt with. I don't believe the South 7 has been proactive enough, and I think it's time that whether it be the original, and I say original, and I understand Carbondale's not an original member and those things, that the old school 4 South 7 teams, Carbondale, Marion, Mount Vernon, Centralia, those 4 get together and say, guys, we got to do something. We need to move. Now, the problem obviously we're running into is, where do you go? Who wants Carbondale, Marion, Mount Vernon, Centralia? Well, the only 2 viable options would be the Apollo Conference and the Mississippi Valley. 2 6-team conferences. The Valley has been very solid in its membership throughout the years. The Apollo has done some shuffling now, but I think going forward, they are fine with the 6 teams that they have. So now that leaves us a big problem, Danny.
Mm-hmm.
What if nobody wants us? Now what do we do?
Right.
I mean, have we let too much grass grow under our feet that this is our 6, come hell or high water, we're stuck with these 6 teams. There is no flexibility, there is no movement. If that's the case, it's a darn shame. I want to go forward, and I have a lot of ideas of what could be done, but all of them are beneficial to those 4 schools.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, yeah, of course the South 7 would love all these. That's not saying that the Mississippi Valley or the Apollo has to have or should have open arms to us. I mean, for example, if somebody knocks on your door and they need a place to stay that night, you've got a decision to make. Do you let them in your house, or do you tell them, sorry, I no can do? And that's the decision. To me, these other 2 leagues now have to look at themselves and say, okay, do we help these folks out, or are we just fine the way we are and we'll move on without them?
It seems to me, like you said, there's a lot of ideas, and we could have hours upon end of all combinations. But like you said, the South 7 has not been as proactive as other conferences, laid back. And it gets to a point where, and my final question to you, or next to final question is, you have to go out and sell yourself and have some ideas outside the box to shoot down any other teams or thoughts of, well, that won't work, that won't work, that won't work. If you want to do it, it's basically the South 7-4 has to go out and sell themselves to the Valley or the Apollo or Boldt to try to save themselves.
I would agree with that, but I think the problem you're going to run into, and it's one of the major problems, is, again, even if you go out and sell yourself as well as you possibly can, at the end of the day, the principals and the athletic directors at those other 2 conferences have to ask themselves, are we better off all the way around, from a competitive standpoint, a financial standpoint, all of those things? Are we better off allowing these 4 schools into our leagues that are sustaining themselves and are running along just fine? And if they choose to answer yes, then great. The 4 of us find a home. And the reason, and Danny, I'll say it, the reason we're not bringing Althoff into this conversation is twofold, in my opinion. Number one, if the Valley wanted Althoff, they would have had them years ago. Mm-hmm. They're not interested in Belleville Althoff coming into their conference any more than the Apollo would be. So I think we have to take Althoff out of the conversation and go with our 4 that we're talking about. We do have to convince. Our best salesman in this league, in my opinion, is the product we put out on the football field, on the golf course, on the track. It's not an AD, a slick-tongued AD or principal or superintendent. It's what we put out there. And look at the amazing record that South 7 has shown in state tournaments and in state events. I mean, we're talking about in Cahokia, the last 4 2A state track titles have gone their way. But, outside of that, Carbondale, Marion, Mount Vernon, Centralia, look at the tradition, the history. Those are the things, to me, that sell this league. Not somebody saying, hey, let's all get together and do this. Why wouldn't a Highland, a Triad, a Civic Memorial want to associate themselves more with our 4 programs. To me, if I'm in the MVC, I'm looking at it both ways. For example, if I'm in the Apollo, hey, it'd be great to have those guys because of what they can bring to the table, from the standpoint of facilities, with Mount Vernon getting a new school, Centralia, Carbondale already have their new schools, Marion's going to do some updating. That's who I want to be associated with, but at the same time, they might kick my tail. And do I want to be that medium fish or that small fish in a bigger pond, or am I fine being that big fish in a smaller pond? And if I'm fine with the big fish being that role, I don't want the South 7 involved. So it's a catch-22 for all of them, I think.
Well, we are running out of time, and the thing about it is we can talk about this here in the summer. I think we can have a show where we got different kind of topics of referees, sanctions, conference changes, and everything else. But we're going to ask you, even though you've already posted your answer, our Facebook social media question of the week, growing up, your sports hero was?
It was undoubtedly Pete Rose.
Yep.
The way the guy played the game, the way he carried himself on the field, the other things came after, the betting and those types of things. When I took the baseball field, I wanted to be Pete Rose. I wanted to play as hard as I could for as long as I could and see where that left me. And I still, it's why I love a guy now. If I was a kid now, Bryce Harper would be my guy because of how hard he plays. Maybe it's dirty at points, but he plays so hard. So I go back to the old standard, and that's Charlie Hustle.
Hey, Mike, thanks for joining us this morning. We're going to get you back on later on, probably late spring, early summer, into summer, where we can talk some things out and have some time and carry on issues, and we appreciate you joining us this morning on the show.
You bet. You guys have a good day.
All right, thank you. It's Mike McManus joining us from Centralia. We need to take a quick break. We'll come back and preview the day here on WMIX, here on the Saturday Sports Show on WMIX.
When an emergency happens, time is everything, and you don't want to spend that time in a waiting room. So choose Crossroads Community Hospital. With our 30 minutes or less ER service pledge, the entire team is committed to working diligently to have you initially seen by a physician, physician assistant, or nurse practitioner within 30 minutes of your arrival. When minutes matter, choose the ER that doesn't waste time. Choose Crossroads Community Hospital. Visit crossroadscommunityhospital.com/faster to learn more. If you are experiencing a medical emergency, call 911.
Learn to live healthy, learn to live well, and learn how you can live free from unexpected medical expense with a major medical expense policy from Pekin Insurance and the Page Agency. Health insurance that covers hospital, medical, and surgical expenses offers a wide choice of deductibles and a non-tobacco user discount too. Rising medical costs don't have to be a problem with a major medical expense policy from Pekin Insurance. This is coverage we hope you'll never need, but you just can't be without. Call the Page Agency at 242-7000 about a major medical health insurance plan today.
I'm Kevin Snyder with a look at your next rad weather. For today, it will be partly sunny and milder with a high around 60, then a mainly clear and chilly night tonight, low 43. Tomorrow, it will be breezy and warmer, partly sunny with a high 75, then variably cloudy and warm for Monday. A shower or thunderstorm will be around in the afternoon, high 73. Next rad weather from WMIX, Mount Vernon, Illinois.
Welcome back to the Saturday Sports Show, brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital. Rams baseball pregame on in less than an hour. The Rams host defending Class 1A state champion Effingham St. Anthony. Chris Hugo and I, Denny Zerwinski, will be on the air about 10:45. The pregame first pitch scheduled around 11 a.m. The first of two today here on WMIX AM 940 and online at WMIXsports.com. Let's take another break. We'll wrap this next edition up of the Saturday Sports Show here on WMIX.
When an emergency happens, time is everything, and you don't want to spend that time in a waiting room. So choose Crossroads Community Hospital. With our 30 minutes or less ER service pledge, the entire team is committed to working diligently to have you initially seen by a physician, physician assistant, or nurse practitioner within 30 minutes of your arrival. When minutes matter, choose the ER that doesn't waste time. Choose Crossroads Community Hospital. Visit crossroadscommunityhospital.com/faster to learn more. If you are experiencing a medical emergency, call 911.
He worked out early, practiced late, and studied well into the night. The next day, he did it all over again.
She missed time hanging out and socializing with friends so she could make it on time to practices and games.
He became a top student and a confident leader, even as he helped his team win back-to-back conference titles.
She became a role model in her community, even as she led her team to an undefeated season.
And when they finished playing high school sports, what did they do next?
She graduated from college with honors and went to work for a successful company.
He attended graduate school and became a difference maker in his community.
Because that's what student athletes in Illinois do. They use the skills they develop playing high school sports today
to do even bigger things in life tomorrow.
High school sports.
A winning part of a complete education.
This message presented by the Illinois High School Association and the Illinois Athletic Directors Association.
Sports Show brought to you by Crossroads Community Hospital. It's more than a hospital.
Yeah, it's what healthcare should be.
Wraps up another edition this morning. Denny Zerwinski with Reese Barnfield, Mike Richardson, Chris Hugo, all in the studio here, there, and today. Chris Hugo already out at Brennan Klein Field. Getting ready as the Mount Vernon Rams host the Class 1A defending state champions in baseball, the Effingham St. Anthony Bulldogs, in a doubleheader. It is great uniform day for the Mount Vernon Rams. They're wearing the throwbacks on Saturday, doubleheader day today, as the Rams begin. Pregame at 10:45, first pitch scheduled for 11 o'clock, the doubleheader out at Brennan Klein Field. We had a lot of guests on today. Tim Holloway, Lance Boldt, our staples during the spring season. Althoff coach Brett Isaacs, who the Rams will play on Thursday in Belleville. Matt Kottmeyer, the head coach of the Centralia Orphans baseball team, joined us. The Rams will host Centralia on Tuesday. Hall of Famer, Illinois football coaches Hall of Fame member Kerry Martin, the head coach of the Marion Wildcats, joined us. Then we had Jeffrey Drake on to talk about the Harrisburg and Seton Academy sanctions that were dropped down. And then, of course, Mike McManus. We had him on to talk about the Kokia situation in the South 7. And, Mike, real quick, as there's lots of softball in Pinckneyville to showcase today, got to mention that as well. Sanctions out, Kokia is South 7. Lots of things going on that maybe we can talk about. Maybe in late spring, early summer, we can dedicate hours to that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, we'll have a lot of time this summer, and I'm just hopefully by the time I get to the truck and get home, and maybe Tiger's not got any more penalties against him before he tees off today, so we'll see how that goes.
My NBA playoffs are done. Kobe tears Achilles. He's got surgery today, so now I don't have anybody really to watch individually. Tiger with a bad drop, the gray area. He got a 2-stroke penalty. He's going to stay in the tournament. The Masters, crazy.
NFL draft coming up upon us. That's always fun.
And the draft is coming. Lots of softball, Pinckneyville. Lots of showcase softball. Of course, the Rams are at home today with Effingham St. Anthony. As we get ready to do more, we do every game of Rams baseball, every pitch here on AM 940, as well as online at WMIXsports.com. For Reese Barnfield, Chris Hugo, Mike Richardson, Danny Zerwinski, thanks for listening. See you next week. NBC News is now.